Thank you for tuning in. We have an amazing episode for you today. I have Nate Hamilton here with you. Got to chat with him at Clutch Kickers last week. Convinced him to join in for a very informative podcast for you guys. If you do enjoy what he has to say, please check out his YouTube at 144 or his website and merch at 144racing.com. With that being said, let's get to it. How's your week been after spending the time in Florida and all that hot mess?
It's been pretty busy, man. We've been going super quick, blending the print shop and drifting, of course, right? So we are currently sorting out a little bit of a motor issue and more or less just fuel or spark, so plugs and injectors being swapped out here. But yeah, it's going good, man. It's been a busy week. How about you?
Been trying just to recover from like the dehydrating weather that Florida provides of just getting sunburned and
no joke.
Oh man,
no joke.
It was hot down there.
We get to the track at like 9 a.m. and we're there till 9 p.m. You know?
Yeah, definitely some exhausting days out there.
Yes, they can take it out of you for sure.
Oh, so speaking of the print shop, is that what you do, like your full-time gig, or?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the full-time gig. Sorry, we're driving on the road right here, but anyway, so yes, print shop, right? So a little bit of background on that. I was screen printing when I was younger. And just basically that turned into a trade that I had. And when I needed to kind of create or find a job, I figured I would create one instead of going to find one.
It's always nice to be your own manager, for sure.
You know what I mean? Plus and minuses, but yes, for sure. It's nice to, for me, it's really nice to just create stuff for people.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? It just feels good. And like we were talking about at the track, like seeing people wear gear that I've created is super humbling.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome because I didn't know that I would see you there even. So me wearing the Jake Elliott shirt that you guys did, that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that was cool, man. Exactly. But yeah, so just creating a bunch of stuff for local people and for drivers, and then get to hustle and then go out and go drifting. So
that is
trying to make it happen. Yeah, for sure.
Now, what all apparel do you do the print stuff for? Is it just shirts or?
Yeah, so we started with T-shirts, and then, with opportunity, we basically ran into like heat press and vinyl with like jerseys, if you will, and then that kind of turned into embroidery as well. So yeah, we've got a little bit of everything. So
wow,
it's fun. Yeah.
Are you able to do like wraps for helmets or anything?
No, we haven't gotten there yet. I know. There's so I have a partnership with Fortune Wraps. They're a local, Dallas shop. So I'm trying to swing them all into the 144 camp, just because if you imagine basically like as an athlete drifting, right, we have, embroidery, creating team gear, your photos that turn into like hero cards, just everything that I've kind of had to do as an athlete every year for racing. I just figured, man, it'd be really cool to open those lanes up to offer at 144 kind of with my background of just doing it for so many years. So for example, like car wraps is one of them that I'm trying to swing into that too, because, every year we need a new wrap and then break a bumper, fix the bumper, the drill.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it just seems like it'd be perfect to have that whole one-stop shop of, hey, have a matching helmet, car, business cards, shirts, everything. Just be like, hey, you're on my team. We get you set up.
Exactly.
And yeah, that sounds like the perfect idea.
Your posters, boom.
I mean, and hell, that really works out for a lot of different racing other than just drifting, for motocross, for drag racing, for whatever. You could really expand it.
Exactly. Yep. So it is cool. It's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really sweet.
And it's a work in progress, right? Like it isn't all like super, I don't know how you word that, but like we still kind of, how do I word this? Like we have an illustrator, you know what I
Okay.
mean? So there's kind of some time and process behind what we're up to. It's not like super automated at this moment.
Sure.
So you kind of get that customer service, hometown,
Yeah.
small grassroots vibe.
I want to say it's almost like a mom and pop shop, but not quite actually a mom and pop shop.
100%. Like I was talking to Scott at Grip Royal, and I was like, yeah, man, screening your shirts and this and that. And he's like, well, you don't actually screen the shirts. And I was like, I screen some shirts, man. Like, yes, for sure. So I think there's a little mirage there of people not thinking I'm actually fucking hustling in the shop, So.
I'm sure most people think that you're essentially, was it drop shipping type of thing?
Right. Like I'm ordering on eBay your stuff and I'm shipping it to you. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So no, we got the distributors that send us the shirts, and then we do our creative process and send them to you. So we're really doing it.
Oh man. Yeah. Now, if you're able to do some reflective vests, I might have to get you to do something for my logo if I ever get a good logo going on.
Exactly. For me, that would be vinyl on a plotter that turns into weeding, that turns into applying on the heat press. So yes, we can do that.
That is rad. Okay, yeah. I'm definitely going to be staying in touch with you, it sounds like.
For sure.
Now, switch gears a little bit, no pun intended, to get back over to drifting.
Yes.
What was your last FD season?
My last FD season was 2017.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I couldn't remember for sure. So what's kept you away from FD for the past 2 to 3 years?
My own self. Yeah. So
was it 20?
So yeah, I could go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, because I was thinking 2018, I want to say was the James Dean and Peter starting season. So whenever things got amped up like crazy, and I wasn't sure if it had anything to do with just like, it seemed like the challenge level jumped up a couple degrees in 2018. So I wasn't sure if that had anything to do with it or not.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was not a factor at all. I think for Formula Drift in my career, like, multiple years of kind of falling on your face and learning is something that I was kind of used to. So I think, as better and better talent signs up, that's just more and more drive, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So for me, I'll give a little context on this, but it's just basically the idea of like, I was in a pattern that I wasn't exactly happy with, and it really had nothing to do with the team or anything like that. It was just more or less like my own mindset and my own ability to know that I could win. Okay. I think I was kind of losing a little bit of steam there, and I honestly didn't know what to do. So I felt that if I changed my life, I would get a different result. And it was definitely a very like deep thought, if you will. But I realized that I've been doing kind of the Formula Drift and just grassroots to pro avenue for, the past, at that moment, like 6 or 7 years. And I just thought taking a year off could give me a fresh perspective. Sure. And that's what I did, right? So I was just like, I don't really have any plan. I was leaving in Juku at the time, and I was going to go find a job or create a job. And that's when really I had an opportunity to buy back some old T-shirt printing equipment that I knew how to operate. Okay. So that's where that all started. And the actual entity is Rhythm Print Supply. So yeah, I just started a small business, and I felt that if I could learn business myself, I would be able to better my sponsorship stuff with my actual sponsors. And I would be able to gain kind of my momentum back as a driver. And so I know it was a super long road, right? Like super, super long game plan there, like long way around town, if you will. But I just, at the time, I didn't know enough about what I was giving to my sponsors and how to get, a little more income to pay for the racing, because, if you lose and lose and lose and lose money, sometimes you just have to figure it out. You know what I mean?
It definitely sounds like you're taking the right approach of, if things aren't going right, sometimes it's easier to take a step back than trying to jump forward and
exactly like
falling flat on your face, and where instead you could be like, okay, what's going wrong here and what's going right, so I can try and do a lot more of what's going right and less of what's going wrong.
Exactly. And I felt like I was at a time and place where I had asked so much from my sponsors and I wasn't getting the racing results that I felt like I deserved and wanted, which was all my own fault. So I wanted to not ask for my sponsors for a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I wanted to be like, hey guys, y'all have given me so much. Give me a little moment to get my head right and let me get back on my feet. And then if you guys believe in me, then we'll take back up our sponsorships and we'll move forward. So everyone was super rad. Like everyone was super cool about it. And I actually have more support now than I've ever had. So
that's right.
Currently the plan is working. You know what I mean?
So I think you did LS Fest West last year, right?
I did. That was my first event coming out of the print shop back into the car, like literally off the couch, right into my first competition. Okay. And I was in shock at how, much A, the drivers were progressing, and B, like the competition was no joke.
Yeah, that was my first event actually going out west to see a drift event.
That's people are on it, man.
Dude, I mean, it was a fun event. Like, there was a lot bigger of a show out than I thought would be there. And
a lot of drivers coming. Yeah, they're coming out west. Like a lot of heavy hitters. Like that was like real. Like I was like, damn, okay.
Yeah.
So I think I qualified in the top 5. I want to say maybe 4, because I remember thinking I like that number 4. And then walking my way up, we finished second. So for me, that was a nice shock to car setup and speed.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was some Pro 2 heavy hitters out there running it. So it's fun.
It was definitely a cool event. Now, whenever you go from like the level of competing at FD and having sponsorship, then to getting off the couch and going competing like at a comp like that, did you still have sponsor support going into that, or is that like how does that work?
Yeah, so I basically in 2019, that was that year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 19, right? Am I right, Jeff?
You're right.
Yeah, beginning of 19. So for me, I paid every piece of that. So okay. I was able to get a bit of a game plan on how I was going to go to a race and create media that then I would deliver to my sponsors. But in the kind of thank you route, I wanted to just come out of my pocket and start getting back into drifting with no real obligations.
Sure.
But then I was able to then deliver to those sponsors and say, hey, what up? I'm getting back into this. Thank you for all the support. And this season's pretty much like on me, and I'm just going to go as far as I can, rolling with the print shop and my own type of income. So concept there was, just like give more than you take. I didn't want to say, hey, I'm going to go back drifting, support me. I wanted to show you that I'm back drifting. And then if you wanted to support me, then that's really cool.
Basically build up that past relationship without any sort of obligation.
Exactly. Like a big, big thank you,
Absolutely. That's super cool, man.
Yeah. So that was the plan. And then honestly, that's when everything started to turn on. Like, I got a beautiful phone call from Golan Engines that said, hey, Nate, we know you need support. So we got your back. So then I realized I had motor support, and then fuel support, and then tire support and suspension support. So yeah, man, like I literally have more support than I've had in FD. And I think it does come down to our team working together to provide media, and then me being able to, I don't know, I guess just be me and have fun and shake hands with the fans and try to win races,
Hell yeah.
What you think about that?
It sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Because you're getting back to trying to build up your fan base, to build up business relationships. It seems like you're trying to tackle it at every angle of doing it the right way.
And that did have to, like, I do have to kind of shout out just like owning a small business. I had to realize that when a sponsor is giving me, either even just product support or even an income, right? It's like they still need something from that. And for me to be able to kind of actually explain that from the beginning is where I think kind of things really make sense. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I understand you're going to give me, let's say, $5,000 in a product support, but how do I earn that money, right? Like, it's not just thank you for these rims and let me just do whatever I want. It's like, what do I give you in return? And that's kind of what at the track, I'm able to just be transparent with the other drivers as well now, because, you know, we're doing our own thing. So I don't feel as if I'm in as much competition as I used to feel. So It's cool to be able to help younger drivers understand what I've already fallen on my face and learned, you know?
I mean, hell, it sounds like you can essentially help out a Pro-Am driver with a business plan, even at this point, as you're helping them out with everything else.
Exactly. And if, exactly. And if like Tyler Berry's ever listening, he will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I got a few drivers, that I guess you could say we jump on phone calls and, do a little mentorship, you know?
That's rad. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's cool.
Tyler's definitely a good guy. He lives out in East Tennessee and competes in the Pro-Am, and I've had him on here too.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen his list on the Spotify, you know?
Oh, nice.
Or his name on the list, yes.
Yeah, because I think I got to post up the Spotify one with Schulte last week or the week before or whatever.
Nice.
Man, Schulte was a blast. He's such a nice dude.
Yes, he is.
And then I need to still get Jake on here. He's been I've been trying to work with him on getting his media game up.
Awesome. And is it like correct me if I'm wrong, but you're also helping out Taylor Hull with some media?
Yeah.
Is that what I kind of noticed, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed, well, it's changed 3 times now, but depending on how the FD season was going to go, I was trying to hit up 4 events to do media for Taylor Hull, Jonathan Hurst, and Human Rahimi I was going to be doing media for as well.
Nice.
But now it sounds like at best I'm going to hit St. Louis. Instead of hitting 4 events, I hit 1.
Right, but I guess you get 2 out of that, right?
Yeah, it's 2 rounds, and thankfully Pro 1 or both Pro 1 and Pro 2 will be there.
Exactly.
So it's not a complete loss or anything, but with how much multiple sports are suffering due to health concerns, it could always be worse.
Very true, man. This year is definitely a crazy year. I think it's a bit of an unknown for everybody, and then we're all just trying to, I guess, be ready for opportunity when it shows up, because this year you kind of just don't know when you're on or off, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's my biggest goal is just be ready at all times, because I don't know. I mean, even the Clutch Kickers round 3, honestly, it's like that wasn't on my schedule. That wasn't on my books, but we just realized certain things were going to be canceled so we could jump in and start being active. And so boom, got to be ready, you know?
Now, where are you based out of?
I'm in Denton, Texas. So just north of Dallas. It's okay.
I've actually met a few people from Denton, oddly enough. Yeah. It's a cool little college town. We got a little hole in the walls everywhere that are fun to go to. And it's, for us at the print shop, right? It's a creative area, which, if anyone lives in Dallas, Texas, it kind of can be like suburb, big city, and there's not a lot of creative corners. But yeah, for us, it's like a mini Austin, right? That's rad. Now, do you do anything with like Lone Star Drift out there, or have you considered doing anything with Drift Week?
That's kind of interesting, right? We did go to Aaron's first event at MSR in Houston. So that was a blast. There was a really, how do I word it? A really long, I want to say like a variety of drivers. I wanted to say a large group of people, but it was a nice turnout, and it was fun to get down there and to get with Aaron and hang out. So he had me out, which was fun. So thank you, Aaron. But yeah, I mean, I'm not as active in the actual like Texas scene as I think people would think, but you got to kind of imagine when I was younger, I grew up doing Lone Star Drift events solely. Yeah. And then from there, I realized if I could travel and drive with different styles of people, I would learn a little bit, more or quicker. Yeah. And so that's really where I started traveling. So I would go to Club Loose stuff and I went out west and just kind of got out of Texas more than I stayed in it. And I think I just kind of kept that as my values. So I bounce to Lone Star Drift when I can. And then from there, I'm honestly, Grid Life, Clutch Kickers, just moving around more than I stay home. So because, shout out to Aaron, I could literally drift every month in Texas and not go anywhere. But obviously for media and sponsorship stuff, it makes sense to travel more.
Yeah, it'll especially for drifting at the level that your talent and everything that you have in talent and car is there for, it would get very stale.
But I do think, on the other side of the coin, I do think that I should get more involved. Given that Aaron approves, and because maybe,
sure.
Even if I can go out and bounce around to the drivers, kind of like what I did with East 10.
Yeah.
I was able to literally go there and just like talk to the drivers as they were getting ready for, qualifying, and just shout them out on their line and what I would see they could do better. And, some guys really enjoyed that. And some guys obviously would rather not hear Nate Hamilton barking in their ear, but for those who want that, then I enjoy that, right? Like, it's cool. I like the idea of, like, I've learned a lot of shit through heartache, and if I could share it with you, then why not?
Because you were out at the final round of East 10 Pro-Am last year, right?
Exactly.
I remember being there, and one of the coolest things I remember about that was, for one, you getting to talk to him, and two, I can't remember if it was Haltech or Link was out there. I want to say it was Haltech.
Yep.
And during one of the I think it was during the post-drivers meeting or the pre-drivers meeting, they talked about how they need to represent themselves as a business, and
yes,
it was so good seeing people like that out there, because this isn't just you're in high school, this is something to mess around with. Like, you can turn this into a real opportunity.
Yeah.
And seeing guys like yourselves and Haltech out there, like, it's I want to say it's one of the biggest things you can do to help build someone up to take this seriously.
Absolutely. I got a little analogy for myself here, which is, there was a time and a place where I had $100 skateboard, and there was a time and a place where I had $100,000 drift car, and equally so, I was happy, like, as a man living in life. You know what I mean? So I think for me, taking a year off of drifting and literally, like, sweat equity, screen printing, for drivers, wishing I would be out at these events, I thought a lot about it. And so something I tell young drivers is, like, whether, let's say, like, with my parents helping me kind of get going in racing, or a big sponsorship opportunity, like, however you're going drifting, to just spin tires and go drifting, you gotta be super grateful, man. Like, even in the pro class, there's less than 50 of us in America, right? Like, how tight knit and small is that community? So we gotta be grateful, and we've got to kind of use every inch of our programs to treat it like a business, and treat it, for, your people to get their return on their investments. Because just like with me, I've had a lot of opportunities that have come and gone. And when they're there, you're on cloud nine. And when they're gone, you're, you know what I mean? Like, starting at the bottom, trying to rebuild it. And I like to always imagine that every day is a new day. And, there is a great amount of sponsorship around the corner, even in 2020, going into 21. Like, dude, there's people out there looking to get into motorsports as, a marketing standpoint. And we can't look, like, down, right? We got to look up.
Definitely. And drifting is a sport that I can see how people just get kind of consumed in for the driving, of not thinking of the business opportunity of it, because hell, you're sending a car sideways.
Yeah.
It's hard not to smile. It's hard not to have fun. And I know a lot of people came from different sorts of backgrounds into it to see it as the competitive light, but it's when you're sending a car 50 plus miles an hour, and you're a foot away from someone while going sideways, and just trying to edge closer and closer to someone's door. it's definitely competition, and it's definitely something that you can get caught caught in the moment for.
Yeah, for sure, right? Like that's its own mindset, and that's its own talent. You know what I mean? Like I think drifting athletes are very underrated right now. I think that, for one, let's just go down the list of like kind of what a drifting athlete does, and we can go from grassroots to pro, but most of them are mechanics, truck drivers, some sort of line of business, or how they can manage their schedules and sponsorship stuff. So we're wearing a lot of hats, right? And then now you add in the actual driver, the athlete, and then it's just, or let's add, you need to be on camera, right? You need to be a personality. So there's so many things we do to go drifting that I try to like big up every driver, man. Like I think that is something that is underrated at the exact moment that we're in, kind of in the span of drifting. But, at the same time, I kind of wanted to explain, like, imagine my story, which is like when I was young, my first sponsor came up to me and said, hello, like, do you want to run these Inkay wheels? And then right. And then I got looped into XDC, kind of accidentally from a fabricator who kind of forced me to go to competition. And then from there, I met Chris Forsberg, Jared Deanda, Matt Petty. So like I had a shit ton of opportunity come my way before I even knew what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the lesson that I want to teach and preach, is just like kind of try to make sure that you stay aware of everything that's coming to you, because, you can really get somewhere in drifting. And I believe that you can make it a career for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, just to chat on the past a little bit, what was your first drift car?
I guess my first drift car was an FDR X7. So okay. I know that's a bit bougie, but I basically I had a friend of mine who had a 240, and he was into cars, and I had an opportunity to trade in a Jetta for an FDR X7 at the time. So I did.
That's a hell of a trade.
It really was. I mean, it was it was an expensive trade, but I needed something rear wheel drive, and it was available. So I thought that would be a great move.
Yeah.
So after a fender of replacing a fender or two, I realized this is not a good move.
Yeah. FDs are not exactly the cheapest thing to have repaired.
No, not at all. So I'm street drifting in FD, and I realized this is not going to be like a very long-term deal. So from there, I just was working a full-time job, of course, and I just bought myself a 240. And then I started funneling all my money into that. So basically, I would say, super active NS13. That was my first car. Yeah.
Well, so going from the Jetta to the FD, like what got you into drifting? Like, was there any sort of auto stuff you were doing before that? I almost want to guess it was a Stance Boy thing if you went from a Volkswagen Jetta to an FD, but I'm hoping not.
Yes, you are absolutely incorrect.
Yeah, thank God.
Yes, it was no. So the synopsis is, I'm just a skateboarder from the suburb. And basically, my best man at my wedding, who's obviously like my best friend, or one of my best friends, is named Joseph Bell. And he was super into anime, super into Japan culture. And he started getting into just watching drifting and introducing my whole team and crew at the time about drifting. So we were just skateboarders, and we had a little gravel patch outside of the skate park. And he actually had a coupe, an S13 coupe, that he would just pull his e-brake and do little 180s. And I had a Jetta at the time, just randomly, just had a Jetta. So yeah, he was just like, this is cool. And so from there, our whole skate crew started learning about drifting. And when it would rain, we would just go to industrial parks and just spin out, had no clue what we were doing. So yeah, no motorsports background with my dad or my parents or family, right? Just total fluke. Like, my real hometown friends are like, what the hell is Nate doing drifting? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the two things that I've noticed with drifting is like the two of the biggest backgrounds are either skateboarding or motocross. Like skateboarding or dirt bikes leads so many people to drifting. I don't know if it's that.
Yeah.
I think it's the extreme sport mentality.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, you gotta realize, like, I'm gonna jump down this 10 stair, could roll my ankle, could break my ankle, could whatever.
Yeah.
And then that directly relates to, I'm gonna drive 90 mile an hour into the first turn in Seattle with Chris Forsberg, and I can either slam into this wall or not. And there's definitely a mental game there you gotta have, right?
Without a doubt.
It's so fun though.
Oh man.
And I think I've done both, right? Slammed into the wall and rolled the ankle. So
I need to talk you. I swear, like every person I have on the podcast, I try and talk into going to Nashville Super Speedway at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been there at all.
I don't think I have.
Super fun track. We're hoping to have one or two events there. I think still this year.
Nice.
But
what's so good about it, or what's special about it?
It has a sweeper that cars enter anywhere from like 90 to 120.
Damn.
So that's
with consequence, like with a wall on a bank or something.
No wall.
Okay.
It has an inside wall, but there's tires before you hit the actual wall, but no outside. Basically, it's essentially flat, and then if you missed it hard, you're going onto a bank.
Gotcha. That sounds fun.
I've seen Hole's been out there, I know, and a lot of the East 10 guys drive it, and people that are wanting to get into Pro-Am. So just thinking of it at that level, I'm like, there's the possibility that you could recruit some people onto getting into like what you talked about on trying to get drivers to look into the sport professionally and everything else. Because like I know Jake Elliott drives out there, Human drives out there, which he's pro too, but
Yep.
I mean, there's just a ton of East 10 guys and then other people that will kind of come around whenever those events happen, just because super fun sweeper and just a good course in general.
How is the, so to that point, we definitely should try to host a little collab event. That'd be rad. But the follow-up question is, how is that track operating as much during all this crazy times of COVID and things? Like, can you actually drift out there as of recent, or is it semi on par?
That track is kind of a hot mess. Like at most they would only have 2 to 3 events out there a year.
Got it.
They used to be, they had tried to build the track to do NASCAR truck, but they didn't have enough seating or something like that, so they ended up getting turned down. So the track like has essentially been like, if you look at their website, they've been shut down since like 2012, but they still have a couple of events a year.
Gotcha.
Most of the year, Nissan parks their new cars out there ready to be shipping out across the country.
I see. So they're kind of using this space as some storage or something for Nissan. Yeah,
it's basically storage for Nissan. Then once a quarter, Nissan clears out. And then they try and have an event there at that same time once a quarter.
Well, hey, maybe that means it's an affordable track day, you know?
I think it's normally 100 to 150 for a drive day.
Okay, that's not terrible. Seems about average, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that's about normal for the size of track it is, because it's not like a parking lot track where you're looking at spending $50 or whatever.
Right.
But it's a super cool track that... There's a lot of good drivers and a lot of I think it almost feels like a proving ground, because I've seen so many drivers that have gone there, and usually drivers that look good out there can compete at the Pro-Am or higher level.
Right.
Like Nick Novak would always tear up that track, and he won East 10's Pro-Am I think twice.
Dude, that dude's a ripper, man. I met him out at Clutch Kickers.
Yeah,
I guess sometime last year or something, but yeah, that dude's on it. A lot of talent.
So I love,
Jeff, set it up, dude. Set it up. Make it happen.
Yep. I'll definitely have to let you know on what happens out there to try and get you to come out.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Do you have any other big events that you're hoping to hit this year?
Yeah, we do. One of the newer ones for us would be Hyperfest, right? Like I didn't run that last year on our Endless Search for Tires tour. That was kind of my intro back into drifting. But Grid Life is kind of the other like highlighted stuff I'm doing. So Grid Life's Hyperfest, the Holly LS Fest stuff if it ever happens, Indy Drifts 10K event, North Dakota.
I haven't heard about that one actually.
No? Yeah, that was one I actually was able to win last year. So
oh, nice.
It was super fun. And I got a big wrestling belt. You know what I mean? Like for the prize. So I got to bring that thing back and make sure I keep it,
Hell yeah. I would love seeing you go to the drivers meeting just wearing like this championship belt type of thing.
Yes. I got to get my wife to carry it next to me like the ring girls do, right? Like I just walk up, she's carrying it behind me. But anyways, but the schedule actually has just been very difficult because shit's like on and off and on and off. So man, we are we're trying to promote the Endless Search for Tires, version or whatever we call it, like episode 2, like round 2. But yeah, it's just been a toss up. So we're just doing what we can.
Have you been doing very much social media stuff with your drifting in the last 2 years of getting back into it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like our YouTube is a diamond in the rough, I guess you could say. I think that we have like close to 1,900 followers, which I'm looking to continue to build, right, as the subscriber count goes up. But in real life, my whole career is almost on there. So we have like my buddy Corey Denemy, who started filming me out of a film class in California. There's a kind of a story there that's kind of interesting. And then he ended up filming my whole career. So we've put it out on YouTube, and we've been just telling, a comeback story ever since I got from the print shop back into racing. So yeah, just YouTube 144, and there's a lot of social media on there, quality stuff, blog stuff. But yeah, it's pretty underrated, I'd say. We don't have too many people checking it out right now.
I will definitely be adding you guys a follow for what it's worth. That sounds super interesting. I love seeing like a full story play out, kind of like whether it's in real time or have already been like record. Like I'm a huge documentary guy for one, so
dang, yo Jeff,
stuff.
It's gonna be right up your alley, dude. Endless Search for Tires, episode 1. Start there.
Okay.
You'll watch me come out of the print shop, move, and then move again to where we're at currently. So yeah, check it out, man. I think we're on episode 25, going on 26 now. So
nice.
Man. It's like, and these episodes, they're like 12 to 15 minutes each. So grab some popcorn. You'll have a day's worth of content.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, it's cool. But that's something that, is important to know as well, right? Like creating content and creating media is a really big return for the sponsors. And I'm doing absolutely everything I can to keep growing our media department because it's super important to keep people in the loop.
Well, if you need me to move out to Texas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, a lot of people are moving to Texas, right? It seems like we're kind of positioned in a good spot. I know some large corporations are moving out here, and some friends that I have in California have moved out here. So I think the Texas draw is happening.
It seems like the 3 biggest areas that I hear from, especially for people in drifting, are Arizona, Texas, and Tennessee. Or Tennessee or Georgia, one of the two. Like, a lot of people go to Georgia because you have Road Atlanta right there, and plus all the other events. And then Tennessee just has, like, I can hit probably 20 different events within 5 hours, like within 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, dude, it's insane. Definitely. Like, Texas, I mean, and we have Lone Star, which is pretty big, and a few others. Like,
is a cool dude.
Yeah, and Club Loose is down south. But yeah, like as far as the entities, there's only a few in Texas, but they hold down quite a bit of track days. But Atlanta, shit, man, that's the Mecca, right?
Yeah.
So
it's so disappointing there's not going to be an FD Atlanta this year.
my predictions are all 8 rounds of Formula Drift hosted at Texas Motor Speedway because Texas is pretty turned on right now, and who knows about Washington, and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm praying the best for Formula Drift to have a great season. So it's just interesting to watch it all develop, you know?
Now, with you not competing since 2017, if you were to want to get back into Pro 1, are you able to just jump right back in, or have you considered going back to FD?
Yes. I definitely have considered going back to FD, and between me and you and whoever's listening to this podcast,
Our 5 listeners.
There we go. We got 5 total people. I am honestly, mentally preparing for a comeback story. I think that, taking a break from FD and then that running into a few years off FD, I think will make for just a really relatable approach to, I'm a skateboarder. You're a kid coming out of the suburbs. Like, if I can do it, you can do it. And, working hard every day will get you there. And then, basically, so to answer your question, let me just go to the question here. My talks with Formula Drift are, hey, Nate, you are qualified to petition for Pro 2. Like, from my notes, they won't send me into like a Pro-Am, but I will petition for a Pro 2, in which the goal is to get accepted. And then from there, I would love to start at the bottom. I actually I can petition for Pro 1 and maybe get accepted, but I don't want to. I want to go back to Pro 2. I want to win a championship in Pro 2, and then I want to either hopefully build enough, what's the word? Yeah, momentum and support with the sponsors that they want to see me in Pro 1. And if I can't financially vouch for Pro 1, then I just stay in Pro 2 and I win 2 back-to-back Pro 2 championships. Like, I'll just stay in Pro 2 until enough people see value that I can grow and rightfully so be in Pro 1. Because the Pro 1 status is something that is very creditable and, of course, every drifter's dream.
Yeah.
But if you're losing money doing it, then it's not going to last long, right?
Without a doubt.
So I just kind of been there and I lost money doing it. And I realized I need to create that business approach to where I can make money doing it, feed my family. That way I can focus on fully winning a championship instead of struggling to pay bills.
So what I'm hearing is you want to have a badass underdog story.
Damn right. Exactly. That is literally the answer. I want an underdog story. I want the nickname Jared Deanda, if you're listening, is going to be the comeback kid. You know what I mean? Like, that's my goal. Just tell the truth, be transparent, and just allow my media team to show everybody the struggles and the hardships and then the awesome times of coming back.
Next up on the grid is the comeback kid, Nate Hamilton.
Doesn't that sound good? A little better than Little Tex, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, that's the plan. I think and that's, I guess to say no disrespect to Formula Drift, I didn't really want to leave it. Sure. I never wanted to take a break. It was just, I personally needed to figure out my shit. Right. Yeah. So it's like, I took myself out the game and that hurt. I mean, it hurt a lot. And I spent a full year without touching a steering wheel or a gas pedal. And mind you, my car is sitting underneath my press. So I'm staring at it every day as I screen t-shirts. And like I said, to plug the YouTube one more time, if you watch Endless Search for Tires episode 1, you'll see that moment, Yeah. So, yeah, it's cool.
With your car, is it NA is it an NA LS7 or what are you running in your S13?
So I had in the pro class, I had a turboed LSX.
Okay.
And then since then, I have deleted the turbo, which basically, so with Golan Engine calling me, they said, hey, Nate, we want to help you out with motors. Let's build, a big, bad motor. And I said, hey, guys, I'm actually going to tell another Endless Search for Tires grassroots season. So the marketplace that I'm walking into, I think a 600 horsepower NA setup would be more relatable to these kids. And then the goal for this package is for them to be able to call you and say, hey, what's up? I want the 144 motor. and you guys built that exact motor for, a kid in the situation that I used to be in, like me and my dad not being able to afford a bunch of motors. So if you could buy one and it lasts you from a grassroots to pro-am to potentially pro 2, then that's the goal, right?
Hell yeah.
So that was the story and background on why I went NA and I actually lost power, because most people would say, well, why did you lose? Why would you give up horsepower? But yeah, so the motor itself it's an LSX block. It's bored out. The compression is like 13.3-1.
Oh,
and
shit.
Yeah, dude. So it revs to 7,000 RPMs, little high strung. So super fun.
Sounds like it. E85, I'm guessing, or race fuel?
I'm running VP's X85L. So yes, it's an ethanol.
Gotcha.
Yep. So we're being good to the environment.
Yeah. I just love the consideration of, we're really good for the environment, as you see like your car.
Tires.
Yeah, tires shredding up, just that high-strung V8 just screaming.
Dude, exactly. It's a bit of a...
It's our environmentally conscious decision.
Exactly. Like, don't breathe any of this tire smoke. 16 rears to the race, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's funny. Good point.
That's one thing that's continued to worry me. It's like I try and be an environmentally conscious person, but at the same time, I don't want any of that to touch race cars.
Oh my gosh!
I'm just
like when we go electric, we're all gonna cry.
Oh man, as much as I loved seeing an electric drift car, it's the most uncomfortable thing to listen to I think I've ever heard in my life.
Dude, I know.
Oh, who was it that ran that car last year? Shit.
I can see his face now.
Tyler?
Napoleon Motorsports, right?
Yep, definitely. Yep, absolutely.
The Camaro.
Yep.
Travis Reeder.
Oh, it was Reeder. Yep.
And props to him, for like trying it out and stepping up to that plate. It definitely didn't seem like an easy task, but history book shit right there, man.
Without a doubt. And I love seeing innovation brought to the sport. So in no way am I saying this in a negative thing of saying, oh, you're stupid for bringing out an electric car. No, it's a really cool premise. It's a cool idea. And it's a possible, it's another thing to bring to the sport. In all honesty, I would love to see a hybrid setup.
Right.
Where if you could have that instant torque to the back wheels at any given time, hell yeah.
Dude, like first gear, second gear, you're electric off the line, and then third, you click in a motor sound. That'd be sick.
Yeah, but just seeing, because getting to watch that at Road Atlanta and just you only hear tire squealing, you don't hear anything else, and it's just like I don't want to watch this anymore.
I know, man, and like literally, my turbo setup was getting very close to that, like. I was on the rev limiter with that turbo setup, and it was so quiet. You know what I mean? Like
it's ridiculous how quiet a turbo LS can actually get to.
I know.
I've known of a guy out here that had it was almost a 7-liter LS3 setup, turboed, making it 1,000 whatever horsepower. And like if the car was just sitting at idle, you could barely hear it.
Yeah,
and even when true. If he's full on it, you could hear it pretty well. But like, they had side exhaust, so it was super short exhaust and everything else, and it's
still quiet.
Yeah, it was unreal.
Yep, same with my old setup. That's why I also wanted to change it. Like we would get feedback from judges that would say like, we can't hear what RPM range he's even in. Like, is he just going to get some groceries, or is he trying to win this race? You know what I mean?
But why are 2Js so loud with turbos, though?
Right. Someone with some science answer that one for us.
It's like, okay, we have this like 7.4 liter LS motor with a turbo on it. It sounds like it's going down the highway, and then this 2J is just screaming.
It's so true. It makes no sense in my brain.
Oh, shit. You were in FD for what? You said 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, from like 14, 15, 16, 17. So like 4
years.
4 years, yeah. Like actually pro driving,
So Now, before pro, did you go through like a? 'Cause I can't, like, how did you get into FD?
Okay, so yeah, let's run through this story. So I'll try to hit the chapters here. So let me back up. So skateboarder,
Yep.
getting a 240, had an SR20. I'm taking a cone, a jack, and 2 tires to an industrial park. It just rained. Me and my friend are going to go do donuts. So we're doing donuts to the left. And once we could like loop around the cone like 4 or 5 times and get dizzy, we'd stop and realize, let's loop to the right. So then we did donuts to the right. And then we thought to ourselves, well, if we bring 2 cones, we could do a figure 8. So then we learned figure 8. And then from there, we realized Aaron and some other local drivers like Stuart Leask and stuff were going out to Lone Star Drift events. So we would go there and literally just spin out every day. And basically I blew up my motor and I needed to find a fix so I would be able to drive more without keeping these motors like so maintained because I didn't have the budget. So that's when we found our first LS motor, which I had a fabricator, Kumla, and Garland, Texas, helped me with the car. And then he said, while we're doing the motor, let's put a roll cage in. Then from there, he finished that chassis. We took it out testing, and it went really well. And he said, awesome, you need to go to XDC in New Jersey, and I need you to go to a competition. And I was like, no way. And he was like, you need to go to this competition. So I said, okay. So I went there, and that's where I qualified first, and I finished 4th. And I realized I actually do need to do this. And that was when I met Chris Forsberg, Jared Deanda, Matt Petty, and obviously all the Club Loose OGs there. And so from there, I just, I still struggled, right? Like I struggled with the pressure of competition. And my big get up was I would spin on my first run and I would qualify first on my second run. So it was always rolling the dice a bit with me until I could actually work on consistency. But from there, man, I just, like I said, I didn't really seek out sponsorships. It's one of the things I try to teach younger kids is like, try to figure out how to do this on your own. And then the sponsors will come, because the minute you have to start asking for a bunch of stuff, the harder and harder it can be for you. Yeah. So yeah, like Alex Hadinke walked up to me and he sponsored me, and I just kind of kept the ball rolling. And honestly, that happened for like probably 4 years, right? Like, cause I've been drifting for 10 plus years. I think I'm on my 11th season now. So it's been a long journey, but yeah, like 1 year at a time. That's how I kind of worked my way up to pro racing. And then shit, man, I got a story about that, but that's when I stepped into pro racing, that's when things got really difficult, honestly.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah,
because that's, I mean, a huge step up.
Yeah, it was like, so the story behind it, one of my more memorable moments, which is going to be a big shout out to Achilles Tires, is I was running XDC and kind of running these grassroots activation stuff.
Yeah.
And when I went from XDC to pro, because remember there was no Pro 2 at that time.
Sure.
I was super excited, and I called them and I said, guys, I'm going to enter in Pro 1. Like, this is it. I've done it. And the feedback was, congratulations, Nate. You basically, are going from high school to college. Tires are going to cost, they're like, tires are going to cost this much money. And I was like, oh, wait.
Oh, shit.
Right. Because at the moment that, I was on a sponsorship program with tires. So I was like, oh, wait, I don't think you guys heard me. Hold on 1 second. Like, I'm going to go pro. And they're like, we heard you, man. We heard you.
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah, you're like, we got Daigo, we got these dudes, and like that, those budgets are allocated to these pro athletes. So you're kind of, the junior walking in, like you got to earn your way. And so it just was a real reality check for me, because at that time, I guess I imagined a firework would go off and you know what I mean? Like the crowd would go crazy.
Click into place and
yeah, like it was going to be a big party, and then it actually just was the complete opposite, and it turned into you need to hustle to make this happen and start learning how to structure sponsorships in business, or else this isn't going to last long. And so, yeah, that was my intro into Formula Drift.
Yeah, I think that is probably a lot of people that are just getting into the sport are like, I just want to get into FD and things are going to be paid for. And
Yeah, and one of the things that I remember Ryan Sage kind of teaching me was basically like, the formula drift. How do I word it? Like, what do we get? We get our cards. What are those called? Like your hard card or whatever.
Yeah.
What's that? Whatever. Yeah, your license. There it is.
Yeah.
Your license, right? Like your formula drift license is a way to explain to your sponsors, the TV broadcasting and kind of the status of a formula drift program is what you sell, right? Like you're supposed to you're supposed to leverage that to your people so they get more return on their value.
You sponsor me and I get your brand airtime for a live audience and for television broadcast, basically.
Exactly. So I was kind of being raised to take that and leverage it to ask for more out of your people. So it wasn't that Formula Drift pays you to be there. It wasn't that, the payouts at Formula Drift are so beneficial that you have that incentive to win.
Yeah.
It was more of how do you let your people know that you're now on this new higher pedestal, and that should, create value for your sponsors. So it was a difficult thing for me to learn, really.
I can definitely see that. And especially with you not getting into the small business thing until afterwards. I don't know how much business experience you had, but if you don't have much, if you're going to compete in FD Pro 1 or Pro 2 or whatever, really at this point, you are essentially a business because you have money possibly coming in and you have a bunch of money you have to spend.
Exactly. And you got to remember, I was still kind of riding high on NOS Energy Drink and, and Juku Racing believing me, and some of my like Inkei Wheels, like some of my sponsors that I got when I was younger who already kind of believed in me without me knowing how to pitch properly, what I would return to them. And so, it was kind of almost like opportunity came quicker than I knew how to deal with it, which, me and Alec Honadale, we had a cool down episode out on our YouTube as well. And it was kind of some stuff we talked about there is like being young and kind of having, let's say, some family support that helps you out, and then learning the business side as you go. For some of us athletes comes second. And then you notice there's some athletes that it comes first. Like if you actually look around at the pro class, like let's say 2 or 3 years ago, they all either own a business like Sticky, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of drivers that are also working super hard at their business to go racing. So that was something that I realized I needed and could do also. But I just thought of a creative way to do that, which was screen printing, right?
Yeah. And it seems like the perfect thing to add in there because I can't think of anyone else in FD that's running that type of business.
That's exactly right.
where there's a ton of them, that have their own performance shops like Matt Field and stuff where like,
and that's also exactly right, Jeff. And that's where, for me, it was like, I'm not the best mechanic, right? Like I'm not CNCing parts to put them on our site to manufacture like suspension.
You're not a fabricator. You're not an engine builder. So
nope.
I'm good at.
Exactly. I'm a skateboarder, creative, kid. You know what I mean? So I just leaned into that, and it's been going really well. And I enjoy printing for motorsports community. And
so when are you going to start selling some skate decks?
Oh, I know. Top 5 in the questions, right? Like top 5 most asked questions. So I have to get on that, man. I have to get on that.
We just need you to podium at an event and bring up a 144
skateboard. Yep, exactly.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I did a little collab with my boy Kale at Falcon Tires at the time. So we did do a giveaway and release a deck that was super sick.
Oh man.
Remember that? Did you see any of that?
I don't think I got to see any of that, so now I have to go look it up.
Yeah. There's my car at the time, on a deck. It was real cool. It did real well. People loved it.
Nice.
People still ask if it's available. So I need to get on that, man. I'm still if you check our website, I'm still just t-shirts, hats, some soap from Dream Tank, and Grip Royal steering wheels. So cool.
That's another funny connection with us, is I've shot a couple times now for Dream Tank.
Yeah, Jacob. Shout out Jacob.
Dude, Jacob is such a good guy, and he sent me some of the Nate Hamilton soap, and I was just like, that's awesome looking. I love that color split.
Yes, exactly, right? It's one of the things when he came to me and we started talking and designing and thinking about things, it was like, gotta have that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that turned out really well. Oh man, he's another person that I got to meet from my one trip out west to shoot drifting.
Me too. And Jeff, that's where I met him, man. I literally just pitted next to him randomly. I think next to the Team Scoundrel dudes or whatever, and like he popped the tent up and we said hi, and immediately it was just like, damn, this dude's like, but he believes in what he's making.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And like,
doubt.
When you find people like that, I'm trying to work with those type of people.
Without a doubt, yeah. Whenever I was chatting with him, it was unreal just how much of a salesman he's, you know, I almost have like a negative connotation often to salesmen, but he's just a guy that's really wanting to make it and loving what he's doing.
Yep.
And he was just hard to not want to hang out with and chat with more.
I know, right? Seriously.
I want to know your whole story, man. You're just such a cool guy.
Yeah, humble, you know. But that's something that I get excited about because he's bringing something into drifting, and I think for everyone listening, like that's the goal. Like, if you know what I mean, because there was a point in time where you could kind of lay opportunity out on the table, and there's like 10 options. And then you have 50 people grabbing at it. So if you can bring new people and new opportunities to the table, and that's like rad as fuck, man. So for Jacob to come through and like be like, yo, hand soap, you know what I mean? Like mechanic soap. Like who else is, you know what I mean? Like who else is doing that? So I'm about it.
No more Gojo. Got this.
No more Gojo. You have to bleep that out in the post.
I just need him to have a dispenser version, and I would be set up on buying his stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the hard part too, is what I've noticed is my shit lasts so long. It's like, we got to get this thing to burn down a bit quicker so people can buy more. Just playing.
Oh, shit. Yeah, so is there anything else that you're hoping about chatting on here today?
Nah, man, I'm good. I feel like we've been rambling on. I just appreciate you for having me on, and I'm just hoping I can bring some value to the sport and tell a comeback story and print some shirts for all the athletes listening, and that's why I'm here, man. I'm here to bring good vibes.
Just so for anyone listening that is, you know, interested in getting your product, what is the best way to reach out to get some custom team apparel?
I mean, probably the easiest route would be to hop on your email and just type in orders at 144 Racing. So ORDERS at 144 Racing. But also there is like a form submission on our site. So if you go to 144racing.com and click Print House, and I think it's something like get started or let's do this or some corny catchphrase I put on the little push buttons there.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, that'll kind of guide you into just hey, do you want to do embroidery? Do you want to do screen printing? Do you want me to help you design something? And then you can write a little bit of some details in the subject box there, and then hit go. And me and my team and my wife, we all get to it, and we collectively work together to get back to you and turn around product, super sweet timelines, you know?
And does it matter, like, for anyone that has like a logo and stuff, is it just like a PNG or a vector or what?
Yeah, like PNG, vectors, AI files. I mean, honestly, kind of rule of thumb is anything other than a JPEG, please. But fair. Good news. If you do have just a JPEG and you need me to turn around something like that, I have a awesome guy in-house named Caden who can literally take your scribble off of your piece of paper and turn it into something awesome. So
that's right.
That's something over the course of the year and a half we've been operating, as I've realized there isn't it's not your job to understand the print process. It's kind of our job to take care of you and guide you through that with the least amount of friction, is what we call it, and kind of preach inside of our camp. So when someone does send scribbling ideas on a napkin that they were having a beer, you know what I mean? Like, you're having a beer over something, you scribble on a napkin, you love it. Like, it's our job to turn it into real life. So it is all possible. And I even have an illustrator who can literally draw, Diamond O'Brien. He can draw stuff that you can kind of just verbally say, and we can make it happen. So yeah, man, we're continually trying to do our best to make that process as smooth as possible. Now, let me say this. You can hop online and you can go to, let's say, Google and type in t-shirt printing and like pretty much get an automated process. But for us, we love to call you, talk to you, give you care, have you stop by the shop. Like, we're trying to keep it the mom and pop vibe as we grow, and just try to not be an automated system. So
you guys have a lot more going on than just the order now from China.
Exactly. Like, be prepared for Nate Hamilton to call you and ask how your order was, and be prepared for you to get involved and feel that kind of passion behind it. Right. Nice. So very cool. Man. Yeah, good vibes. It's all cool, and I appreciate that shout out right there. That's cool.
Oh, no problem. I was just thinking about that for anyone that was interested in it. Just be ready for my convoluted as fuck whiteboard of what I want my logo to look like.
There we go. Let's go.
I greatly appreciate you being on here today, man. It was an absolute blast getting to chat with you for a little bit.
Yes, I appreciate it too. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
So that is it.
See you guys at the track soon.
Sounds good, dude.